is what I want for the jingle on my podcast. It's going to be called John Bolton's podcast. No, that impossible. There's no you in Bolton, but I guess that doesn't matter if you're singing it. And I'm a writer. See if you can work that in some way. Basically, just make me sound awesome. Cheers.
Right, day 4. Probably the last day in which I need to record it in the car, so shouldn't be quite as much rumbling as there has been. I was in two minds last night about what to watch. I was hovering over Salem's Lot again, but it's 3 hours. I can't. The time that I start watching these things, I can't commit 3 hours. I'll be up until 3 in the morning. So I was torn between Poltergeist 2 and Poltergeist 3. I decided to watch it with Pete. He hasn't seen Poltergeist 2, so that made the most sense. I did watch Poltergeist 2 the last time I did this. So quite a lot of what I have to say about the film, you can just listen to in the other podcast. I can't remember which one it is, they're all named. You'll be able to find it if you have any interest. I really like Poltergeist 2. It's taking Julian Beck out of the equation because, as I say, I talked about him a lot in my other podcast review, so I don't really want to go over old ground. It did occur to me to just sort of copy and paste bits of that recording into this, but that's just lazy, innit? Plus there'll be a noticeable change in sound quality between my proper actual microphone, which point of interest seems to be dead, and the phone I'm using in the car, which is suboptimal in terms of sound quality. Poltergeist 2. The one thing that did strike me last night is there's moments earlier in the film where we get sort of flashbacks to what the Reverend Kane guy did when he was alive, and there's like some photographs and stuff that we see. And part of me thought, isn't it brilliant that they obviously built like sets and stuff to be able to film this footage. You know, what a testament to taking pride in your production. And then that sort of thought came to me in the same moment that when the end of the film is shot in the same set, it came to me in the same moment as thinking, it would have been nice if they actually had done that rather than just building this set and kind of using it twice. Sort of a weird thing to be disappointed by. I mean, it's not a scary film, obviously. You are put in mind again of what a talented little girl Heather O'Rourke really was, and how sad it. I mean, if sad when any child dies, obviously, goes without saying. How sad it is that she died so young. Other thing that struck me, but I don't think I mentioned it in my other review, is how Carol Ann has a sister in the first film who's not in this film, and there's no mention made of it or anything. It didn't, because of course the actress that played her died. Also very sad because she wouldn't have been very old. Not that it's, I mean, obviously it's always sad, you know, that is a given. So that was sort of sad. It's alright, isn't it? Poltergeist 2. It's one of the rare it's one of the rare films I've watched this year that I don't hate. I think, again, Julian Beck is just amazing in it. He of course also died very soon after the production, but I'm not going to talk about him because I talked about him the last time. I think the thing that me and Pete were talking about, Pete mostly said this, is that it feels very sequely. It's in many ways, actually, it's very similar to Ghostbusters 2 in that it's largely just the same thing again. Ghostbusters 2 I love. It's one of my favourite films. I have a very strong kind of emotional connection to it because it was kind of like the last thing I watched at the cinema before I ended my childhood, I suppose. It was at that age where I started to, I went to secondary school and I started taking interest in girls, and I put away childish things. That's a poem, isn't it, by somebody? I think. Anyway, digressing again, as is my wont. I like. Well, yeah, sequely, yeah. Like it's not that it treats you like you need to have seen the first film to watch this. Like that isn't really the case. But it is a bit. I don't know. It doesn't really do anything new particularly. Which isn't to say that I don't enjoy it. I do enjoy it. I like Taylor, is it? The Native American guy who is quite funny, but also quite an interesting character. It's the scene with the little boy with his braces, very reminiscent of the scene in Superman 3, I think it is, where the woman robot, is she a robot? Or no, she gets turned into a robot somehow by being sort of enshrouded in it's shrouded the word I want, festooned in wires, and so she becomes a robot. That's what happens if you wrap wires around yourself. You instantly turn into a robot. I quite like Superman 3. It's much maligned Superman 3. There's some great moments in Superman 3. Needs more love. Poltergeist 2 similarly. It's alright. It's fun. It's quite a slow build. There's a scene in which Carol Ann's phone rings, and then there's in the same scene I think there's like a little toy robot starts moving, and that's when the sort of paranormal stuff starts to kick in. And I scrubbed back to that point afterwards because I wanted to see if I could find, Jesus Christ, something very large just hit my windscreen. It wasn't a person, it was like a rock. Christ, that scared the shit out of me. You'll have heard that. I mean, really loud, probably. It was loud for me. Fuck. Throw my concentration. Yeah, there's a robot that kind of comes to life, and I was interested to see if that's a robot that a person could buy. Not particularly planning on buying one. I just thought it'd be interesting to know if it was. I guess I wanted to know if it was sort of done for the film, or if it's something that was like available that they just used. And I found a couple on eBay, so it is a thing they just used. But then I noticed that it was like half an hour in. So half an hour where not a lot goes on. I mean, there's exposition and there's exposition, people. But anyway, yeah, I quite like Poltergeist. So I like 2. I like Poltergeist 3 actually for that record as well. Yeah, I quite like it. I think the Julian Beck obviously is amazing in it. The film does sort of drift off a bit after his "let me in" scene. And it just becomes a bit sort of bland. And there's a sort of showdown between the family and the spirits that doesn't really go anywhere. It's like it starts and then it ends, and then that's it. And I'd forgotten. I kind of was expecting like another, like, now he's tested your power and everything, and now you're gonna. But that was the end. Then it ended. Yeah, but anyway, I still like it. It's doesn't do anything particularly different to the first film, but it's Julian Beck's film, really. Julian Beck and Heather O'Rourke carried that film. The guy that plays the dad's very good too. I mean, they're all good, to be fair, but those 3 actors are particularly strong. Yeah, it's good. I liked it. I might do Poltergeist 3 tonight. Just to sort of round off the trilogy, which is the weird thing about that is I've probably seen the sequels way more times than I've seen the original film. I don't know why that is, but yeah, if I'm honest, pound for pound, I prefer haunted house ghosty films that don't end in a sort of big supernatural showdown between the living and the dead. I'm not sure what I prefer to that, but I know that I prefer, like Paranormal Activity, I like the gradual build-up of what goes on. I don't care so much for the sort of the story that sort of threads through it of whatever it is. I can't remember now. It's been years since I watched any of them. but there's a sort of story that like hangs it all together with the two sisters and what went on in their childhood and all things like that. I don't dislike it. I love all of the Paranormal Activity films. I'm sure I said that in a review previously. I love all of them, even Ghost Dimension, which is easily the worst in the set. I don't know what it is I prefer to that, but so the fact that Poltergeist 2 has another sort of big showdown between the living and the dead doesn't really interest me that much. I suppose I'd rather the Paranormal Activity just gets worse and worse and worse, and then the film ends with no explanation of why the activity is happening and no real certainty about whether it stops or what. I guess that's probably what I prefer. But you never get that, so it is what it is. Make do with what I'm given. That's your lot. Cheers.
Come back soon for the next episode of John Bolton's podcast. What horror movie will he be reviewing? Who knows? Who cares?